Shabbat shalom, my friends. Well, the calendar is rushing forward. The calendar, especially at my age, forever rushing forward. May 9th, 10th, evening morning, is Yom Yerushalayim, coming up, Jerusalem Day, celebrating the reunification of Jerusalem in the aftermath of the Six-Day War. I remember that moment with total clarity. I was 26 years old when it was declared to the sounds of the shofar, Har Habayit B'Yadenu, the Temple Mount is in our hands. That day marked a massive shift in the paradigm of Jewish existence. But most of us would probably acknowledge today that paradigm shift on the 28th of Iyar did not fully resolve Jerusalem's ultimate status. Jerusalem, our people's eternal capital, is still a work in progress. Then we have Shivohat, which occurs May 17th and 18th. Shivohat is a festival. We know that, right? Passover, Sukkot, Shavuot, parallel, equal in liturgical importance. And it celebrates, Shavuot does, those events that occurred on Mount Sinai that formalized the covenant between God and the Jewish people. The details of that covenant are found in the Torah, whether in the immutable written Torah as well as in the constantly evolving oral Torah. But our current May 8th, 2021, right now, is a special date as well. For on this Shabbat morning, we read the last Sedras from the Book of Leviticus, Bahar B'chokotai, twin Sedras, Leviticus 25:1 and following, and we host a SIYYUM, a joyous ceremony of conclusion, which is marked, at least according to my family's Polish and Russian roots, by pickled herring, challah, gefilte fish, kugel, and sweets of all kind. And all of that, of course, is accompanied by a special drink which we share as we offer a l'chaim to the Torah. And next week, in keeping with the unbroken pattern of Torah study, next week we will plunge into the wonderful narratives found in the Book of Numbers. Good stuff coming. Leviticus began with the intricate descriptions of the priestly garments and with the architectural details of the tabernacle. Then follows the painful story of the sudden deaths of two of Aaron's sons for offering an Eish Zarah to the Lord. We never do understand what that Eish Zarah was. There is also a full description of the Jewish ritual calendar and a detailed listing of what foods will be considered kosher and which ones will not, without any explanation, really, as to why a food, an animal, bird, ends up on one side of the list or the other. And in the middle of Leviticus, we find the powerful, magnificent teachings of the Holiness Code, as Jews are commanded to be holy in ways that reflect God's holiness. So then, how does the book of Leviticus close out its chapters? More architectural details, more fancy robes, and detailed descriptions about the differences, often boring, between the various sacrifices? No, not nearly. The scribes and authors of the Torah pause here to make clear to us what is on the line. We get at the end of Leviticus a portrayal of what the world could be, as to what the world should be. Though it is too soon in the chronology of Bible study to use this term, in my eyes we get a portrayal of what life might be like in the Messianic age, at the end of time. As Rabbi Shai Held puts it, here in our Sedras is where it is made clear and manifest that, quote, Judaism dreams of a world in which human dignity is real and the presence of God is manifest. I love it, so I'm going to repeat it. Judaism dreams of a world in which human dignity is real and the presence of God is manifest. Despite the protests of far too many who see it this way, the Torah is not a menu of demanded behavioral shifts mandated by an indifferent God. That's not Torah. The Torah is headed in a clear direction. It wants us to do what God is incapable of doing, to make this world a place where human dignity is real and where God's presence is made manifest. But how? We have to learn how to look at the mitzvot in a different way, as per the teachings of Mary Douglas. Remember, all during the study of Leviticus, I've been referencing her. Shabbat, for example, isn't just that litany of restrictions. Shabbat is intended to be aspirational. In a world in which human dignity is routinely trampled, Shabbat tells us how things not only could be, but should be aspirational. Work, of course, a human necessity. But our pattern of work should reflect a radical re-examination of what work is. Now, we usually understand work to be part of our effort to reshape our world, to make our world yield to us, to become more beneficial to us. But Shabbat and the Shabbat legislation demands that we look at work differently. Control, domination, manipulation, these are not where perfection will ever be found. That's why most work is excluded from the description of an idyllic Shabbat. Shabbat doesn't need work to lift up our lives. Aspiration. Yitz Greenberg adds that this weekly encounter with messianic perfection can save us from the indignities and injustices of this world. That's what Shabbat is, as the book of Leviticus ends. Then take another, there are many. The Yovel, Jubilee, the Jubilee year, the 50th year after 7 sets of 7 sabbatical years. And observance the Jubilee, which probably never took place. But look past all the rules of the Jubilee. And here we discover, not surprisingly once again, fundamental to the rules is aspiration, what our lives should be like. There must come a time when economic inequality is ended. There must come a time when the wealthy few cannot control the world. There must be a way for people to start all over again and not to be condemned by what their ancestors did or what they did themselves. People cannot forever be owned. The land cannot forever be degraded. People cannot always be the other. That's in the Jubilee legislation. That's the aspiration the Torah wants us to grab hold of. The Jubilee dreams are not calls for a Marxist revolution, not at all. They hold before us a vision as to what could be, as to what ought to be, and then tell us that everything we do on a day-by-day basis must be carried out with an awareness of what I would call the proto-messianic dreams so powerfully expressed by the prophets. What the Torah is helping us do is concretize a direction for our aspiration toward an idyllic world. Proclaim liberty, we are told, not in some hazy feel-good future, but in each act, step by step, that we choose to do in the here and now. And by the way, Leviticus lifting up such a vision is not intended to be just for us and for our people. The ger, the toshav, the foreigners who live in our midst must be embraced by the future we are commanded to build. Justice for all, economic opportunity for all, hope for all. The stranger, the other, is not your enemy. Hope is reasonable, step by step, mitzvah after mitzvah. 613 mitzvot, taryag. 613 steps toward a world which could best be described as kulo Shabbat. That's our Torah vision, our aspiration. That's what the Torah is about. So God is meant to say, I will give peace in your land. May our understanding of what lies behind the mitzvot drive us forward until that peace is both real and enduring. I say Shabbat Shalom, and because we are concluding the book of Leviticus, Chazak, Chazak, v'nitchazek, Chazak, Chazak, v'nitchazek. May we be strong, may we come to strengthen each other. Have a wonderful Shabbat.